All right, it's time to talk with our featured guest, Santosh Patel. Santosh, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for asking. Awesome. I'm excited to do this episode with you. And I know we're going to be discussing how to create a system where every touch point, from the first ad to the final appointment, it feels obsessively patient centered. But talk to me about that first. What does that mean? Obsessively patient centered.
We have the luxury of seeing so many different dental offices. I've seen kind of different medical offices, and it's really flipping the script. I think we tend to navigate towards, we want this system and this is how it's going to be. But we forget about the end user and understanding how we really grow our reputation, how we grow our business. We really have to focus on the end user and reverse engineer accordingly. And that's really what I would view that term as, is understanding from the lens of the patient what is going to exceed really their expectations. So one, they're satisfied, right? They're loyal to the practice, the business, but also they're sharing the same experience to others that are like-minded as well.
Nice. So I know you said we tend to forget the end user. Why do you think that is?
I think we're conditioned to just think about step A, step B, step C, and just go through a systematic approach. And then we believe, well, if we go through the systematic approach, everything should align to the end user. The end user has changed. If you think about 20 years ago or 50 years ago till now, the expectations of the end user, everyone's on their mobile device. Everyone's expecting immediate gratification, right? More and more people want to talk to less and less people, right? And so that consumer has changed. So I think the mindset of saying, this is how it was taught 20 years ago, and we're just going to follow those systems. I think that's why we forget about it, because we need a refresher on how are we as consumers, right? Sometimes the way we approach the business should be the same way we want to be approached as a consumer. There's some misalignment there.
Yeah. To you, where have you seen like the most misalignment when it comes to that, as far as like practice owner with the end user?
I would say it actually starts in a couple different ways. Everything's on social, everything's on websites, right? And really that journey starts there. But if a prospective patient also sees the website, the social media, and then pictures of the practice, and those are all misaligned, right? You lose a little bit of trust on what's going on there. Part of it is, is the patient feeling catfished, right? Like, you told me I'm going to have this glamorous experience online, and then I just looked at the practice, and the practice is outdated signage, outdated furniture, the walls are all different colors. And so again, you start to lose a little bit of that experience and consistency of what the expectation of that patient had. A website developer can make a website look gorgeous, but it's not a true experience that the patient's going to have.
Interesting. Okay, so then let's break it down, Santosh, if we can. Let's kind of go throughout the patient journey. So if we're talking about the first one, like marketing, first impressions, right?
Yeah.
I know we talked about some misalignments right now, which is a mistake, but to you, what are the biggest messaging mistakes that kill trust before a patient even calls? Would you say it's that, like the photos misaligned, stuff like that?
Yeah, I think misalignment is critical. A lot of patients are going to obviously look and do a little bit of research, right? They're not blindly going to a dental office or a medical office. They're absolutely going to do a little bit of research, even if they were referred, right? The first thing they're going to do is go look up the practice. The second piece is there has to be some testimonials. They go Google reviews or actually on the website. There has to be some validity to it. I also believe, and I've seen this, some of the most successful practices, they're not shying away from who their doctor is. They're putting the doctor on the website. In some groups I've seen, they've gone with the mindset of saying, we're going to give you the greatest experience regardless of who the doctor is. So we don't need to put the doctor on the website. But just think about it, again, from a consumer standpoint, you want to know who you're going to see. There's a lot of anticipation in that. And so before the patient even schedules, there has to be that trust level that needs to be built, and patient testimonials, knowing who you're going to meet. Maybe if it's not the same team members on the website and things like that, but there has to be some consistency of expectation before they step in.
Gotcha. I like that consistency of expectation before someone comes in. So then how do you make sure what's promised online is delivered at the front desk and chairside? So I'll give you an example. Like maybe online they say like the dentist who cares the most, right? Or the most gentle dentist. How do you make sure that's delivered?
I've actually run across where there's practices who promote that they place implants, that they orthodontic, and then you find out on their website they actually don't have those services listed, right? So you have some misalignment. But the other component of it is usually the front team, the one who's answering the call, the one who's scheduling the patient, they actually have no idea what's on the website, and they have no idea what's been out there on the marketing campaign and advertising. So actually getting them involved and having them understand that this is what we're projecting out to the community. We want to make sure when somebody calls us that you understand that and you can represent that as well. I think that's a critical component. And I just don't see that happening. I mean, we do it on a smaller scale as people would apply for our position. I would ask, make sure we're asking at least the questions on what are the three things that you loved about our website? Are they even researching our own website? Are they reading it, right? Are team members reading the website for the companies that they work for? And that's really step one.
Yeah, I never thought about that. So you mean like asking the patients that come in, hey, what are three things you loved about our
Yeah,
website?
not the patients, the team members, like candidates. We're
Uh,
interviewing to recruit team members, and just making sure that they also understand the company they're coming into.
do you think it would also be good idea or a good idea to ask new patients or not? That's like,
Yeah, definitely if you're trying to fill in a little bit of time, I think it's helpful to ask that question. I would say for the most part, most patients are definitely going through the website. I mean, that's just a natural tendency for individuals, especially for new patients. What caught your eye on our website that really helped bring you in today?
interesting. So I know, Santosh, when it comes to the website, and I think that's 100% true, like wherever we see an ad or anything like that, eventually, even if we booked, we're going to go on the website and
Yeah.
check them out, right? What to you, besides images, and I'm more meaning like we're on our mobile device, where would you be like, maybe I'm not going to show up kind of a thing, right? Obviously, maybe the images are stock and it looks fake, but more so like, does it take a long time to load, all that other stuff?
Again, as a consumer, I mean, we're so built on immediate gratification. If it takes the mobile site 3 seconds to load a graphic, I've gone to the next page, right? I've lost
Yeah.
interest. I mean, it's sad to say that, but that's how we are. We tend to expect it to work naturally and gracefully. And we also expect for everything that we need to be at the top. We did this experiment early this February at the CareStack Inner Circle event where they had a Disney speaker come in and they came in and go through some modeling on build this animal, build an animal with the Legos you have. And everyone's looks a little bit different, right? But at the end, everyone has somewhat of a consistent expectation of what it should look like. And when you think about a website, everyone has this expectation of it's going to load fast. The information I need is going to be at the top. Please don't make me scroll for hours to find what I need. Just the overall expectation, again, looking at the end user, we are the end user, right? Like just maybe a different industry. We're the end user. And so think about how you want to experience another company's website. Is your mobile friendly version, conducive to that?
Interesting point. You mentioned Inner Circle, CareStack, right?
Yeah. Back in February, they did it in Orlando.
Oh, is it only CareStack users who can be a part of that or what?
No, so I had the pleasure of being an MC for the last couple of years. I went out there. I know the leadership out there as well. And what I appreciated about their approach was they really just wanted to get one layer deeper into operations and patient experience. Their whole mantra is, we're customer first and we're focused on patient experience. So they brought someone in from Lego. They brought someone in from Disney just to reimagine, like, how do we look at that patient journey? And it's been great. The last couple of years I've been there. It's always great. It's positive when you see the same operators, same groups also want to reattend, right? Because they're gaining some value out of it. And each year it's a little different. That's been a great event in the sense of it's really looking at it from a different lens and perspective, thinking about it from how we are as consumers, not just how we look at it from a dental business.
Nice. So then it's not just for CareStack members, then, right?
It's not. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think last year they had like 600 or 700 people. And I'm sure about 300-400 people were maybe CareStack. The rest were just, folks who just want to improve the overall patient journey and experience.
So then if you could, real quick, with the Disney, what were some takeaways that you felt were like powerful from that speaker?
So they had everyone stand up and everyone was kind of with a partner. It was the energy level. You think about it, just even like an experience from in your dental office and the patient walks in the door, what is the energy transfer that we're providing to that patient? And if it's eyes closed, welcome, please sign in, versus, hey, Ms. Smith, thank you so much for coming in. We're looking forward to your appointment today. Completely different, right? And it's how do you go through that role play and that, really expectation setting? But that's what Disney does. We all know that we're willing to spend a little bit extra to have an enhanced experience at Disney. Mm-hmm. And that's really how they reimagine the experience. They're thinking, well, how can we ensure that the individuals coming in feel welcomed, feel valued, feel heard, right? All of that, even if it's a concise interaction, like a very short interaction, how are we transferring that energy? And so even though it was maybe an hour and 15 session, right? It was a high impact session.
Nice. It's about transferring the energy, he said, to the patient. So then did they ever mention like what were some things we are not supposed to do that we are often doing all the time?
I don't know if they said what not to do. I think they just talked about what to do. Just replace the mindset of maybe what you're doing today versus how can you enhance what you're doing now. It was a yes and concept, right? Like it's the innovative mindset of if people are brainstorming, team members are brainstorming on ideas to enhance an experience, right? That could be the comfort menu, right? Like
Yeah.
what if we offered headphones? Yes, and what if we offered a weighted blanket? Yes, and what if we offered essential oils? So it's that concept of let the team members be part of it, let them be involved. Obviously, understanding and hearing from patients on what are they asking for. And it was really that mindset of one, listen, two, don't assume and judge. We really want to understand as the consumer changes, what is it that's of interest for them? And let's embrace it.
Nice. And then the
Yeah.
Lego guy. What were some of those things where you were like, "Whoa, that's incredible"?
Yeah, I actually took that whole concept. So everyone gets some Legos, they come back, and it was the concept of, okay, build something that represented your happiest moment yesterday or last week, right? And I actually did that with my kids. Gave my kids a bunch of Legos and said, build something that represented your happiest moment of the last month. And my son built something that a ski slope, right? Because we went skiing. So like it doesn't look perfect, but you get the concept, right? But then one of the things that actually stood out the most is he had everybody build, again, it was like an animal, an elephant essentially. He then said, okay, take one piece away from this. You have to decide which piece you're going to take away. And by virtue of taking out that piece, you're looking at this and you're saying, that did not materially change what I built, right?
Mhm.
And so sometimes we have this assumption that we need all these parts and pieces in our business, but maybe we don't. Maybe there's this conception that sometimes offices have too many team members in their business and they're worried about, oh, if I don't have this team member, my business is going to fall apart.
Yeah.
But is it though? Is it really going to fall apart, or can we reorganize and structure it in a way where it's still giving the same level of experience and enhancements? And so it was a great overall experience. I think the year before they did something on race car. And so, each year they have a different approach. I'm not sure what they're doing for this next year. I'm sure they're announcing it already, but they did a great job on it.
That's awesome. And so this inner circle, do you know when it's going to be?
Typically it's in February. I don't know the actual dates. I know that it's going to be in San Antonio at a resort there. Really kind of, again, dialed in to have folks learn best practices and strategies in a different way.
That's going to be incredible. Awesome.
Yeah.
So I know we're
Yeah.
going to have that information in the show notes below, the specific dates and stuff like that. But that's going to be incredible, man. I appreciate you sharing a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But if we get back real quick to the breakdown of this, right? So first we talked about marketing first impressions. Second would be like inbound calls, right? To conversion points. So to you, what language, tone, or systems help convert a caller into a booked patient?
When I was 16, I worked as a telemarketer for Century 21, right? My voice is still cracking and I'm trying to figure all that out, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that they teach you very early on is you absolutely have to speak confidently and you have to have this sense of empathy.
Mm.
And I think being able to do that, where understanding that people's time is extremely valuable, but being confident, thank you for calling and saying, what brings you in? What's the purpose of your call? How can we assist you? Being confident in your script and your role play is going to be critical. And also understanding their purpose and their reason, right? So they're heard, they're listened to, they're valued. That's the most critical part. That's when you actually get somebody on the phone. I think you look at what's happening today and fast forward the next probably year, right? Like it's happening at a rapid pace, but most dental offices are missing somewhere between 30 to 40% phone calls. You're going to start to see more AI products coming in that actually help field and answer those questions. Consumers are already accustomed to that, right? Like we've been used to AI prompts with pharmacy for 10 years. Are you calling in for a prescription refill? Like we're used to that in a little bit more of a fragmented way. But as consumers, we're used to AI prompts. And so now you're going to start to see, well, one, every call gets answered, right? So you don't have missed calls. Being able to have some consistency amongst how the technology is delivering the questions and the script to the patient and going back and forth, that's going to continue to get better. Every day that there's more data in the system, it's going to continue to be enhanced. And I'm sure it's going to start to really mimic more of what the owner practice or the group really wants it to be like, right? They can dictate like ChatGPT, where you put your prompts of what kind of tone you want it in. Like I'm sure you can start to customize your AI voice in the same way. That's also going to change the game. I mean, you think about experience, that's going to be critical. You're not on hold anymore. Can you please hold, right? Like nobody likes that.
Personally, Santosh, do you feel like, I know we're perfecting it, but do you think right now the rest of the general population's like, yes, I would love that for an AI to answer me? or more so like, hey, no, I mean, if I wanted to just automatically book, I would just go on the website, but I have questions and it's not as reactive as I need it to be.
So ideal state, you call the office and somebody answers and they're welcoming and they answer everything. The reality is that if 3 patients call at the exact same time or around the exact same time, 1 patient's call gets answered. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
Because the way staffing is right now, most practices, the ability to have everybody answer calls can be difficult. So as long as you have some redundancy in place to where that call can at least get prompted and answered by AI, even if it's to please hold as I transfer you to our representative, right? Like even if there's that buffer time, honestly, I think in the next year, 2 years, the complete general population can be accustomed to it.
Gotcha. Yeah, that'd be really, really interesting. So then how do you measure success of these conversion points and inbound calls beyond just, hey, did they book?
Yeah, I mean, the hated the book is really important. I mean, there are different companies out there that are starting to add layers of actual call scoring, right?
Yeah.
And, you have to build a little bit of that with them in terms of what does that call scoring look like. But that's also important because it's giving you the ability to give feedback to your team members, right? Like, hey, you missed this opportunity, you forgot to say this, or the reason why they didn't book is because you didn't ask them to book, right? You just answered questions, but you never said, can I schedule your appointment today? So that technology, is definitely going to be out there, and VoiceBack has something, and we're using it on the specialty side where we want to know from the end user standpoint, how can we score these calls so we could just get better?
Interesting. Yeah, I know what you mean. Maybe they might have mentioned in the call, like, I don't know, Invisalign or implants or something, but we missed it just so we can get them to book for like an emergency visit.
Right. If they're saying Invisalign, the concept should be, well, we actually have an appointment for an orthodontic consultation the next Tuesday. Can we go ahead and get you scheduled for that? Right. Like understanding what the patient is saying and then gearing your appointment booking strategy to that.
Yeah. That's where I can see AI be huge because I'm not going to lie. At the beginning of the day, I'm fresh. I'm aware. I'm listening. Towards the end of the day, right? Like
you're not consistent.
Yeah. I'm just, oh, you want to book? Cool. And then that's it, right? Yeah. I'm kind of.
Oh, you want to book? Yeah. I mean, let us know when, or you can just do it online.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is fine. Like you want people to book online. If that's easier for them, that's less phone calls. So that's more attention you can give to the individuals who are in your practice. But if somebody's going to call, they need to have that consistent experience.
Yeah. Because you're dealing with like the whole end of day stuff, wrapping things up, and then people are calling. It's more of like an interruption than an opportunity. I think sometimes for human nature as we see it. I can see definitely that. Awesome. So then number 3 would be in-office flow or experience delivery, right? So what should a patient feel in the first 30 seconds of walking in, and how can we systematize that?
I mean, I think about it like when I go into a dealership or a hotel or a restaurant that I like, the eye contact, the smile that's welcoming, right? It's warm. It's acknowledgement of who I am. Even if it's, who are you? It's just acknowledgement, like, this is who I am. Oh, great. Happy to see you here today. And then I think one thing that I feel is missing throughout like a workflow is actually just understanding that consumers, patients, like we want to know next steps. Tell me, go ahead and have a seat right there. And Lindsay, our assistant, is going to come out and get you, right? Just tell me what to expect. Lindsay's come out here in the next 5 minutes to come out and get you, right? Give me some of those next steps, expectations. And then as, Lindsay comes back and brings you back, and then, it's going to let you know, okay, Jason's going to be our hygienist. He's going to be here in 10 minutes, right? He'll be right here to take some x-rays for you. Let us know if there's anything that we can help you with. Make your visit more comfortable. I welcomed you. I acknowledged your name. I also gave you next steps. And then start going through the really dominoes of handoff.
I love that, man. The next steps. It gives the patient more certainty, and we tend to run away from uncertainty, right?
I hear this all the time. I think different individuals feel anxious at different moments. Patients going into dental practice, they feel anxious. Anxiety is not knowing what's going to happen or being unclear on the next journey, next step. So if you can at least allow some information to be processed and provide some clarity, some calmness, right, to this patient, then that's great. If they think they're going to go straight from the waiting room and then they're going to go get their teeth drilled on, that's going to create some anxiety, right?
Yeah.
But if you can break that process down to different steps for them, they can work with you on it. And then they'll communicate with you if they're like, okay, I need a breather here. So I need a break. Communication workflow will be aligned.
I like that. So then how do you make transitions between team members feel seamless, especially front office to back office?
It's just role play. And it's role play when patients are out there. right? And it's truly understanding one, like, did you build a learning management system? We use a system called Dundesk. And so we built in Dundesk, it's our playbook, right? And so in that playbook, we have little sound bites of videos of how we expect handoffs and things of that nature. And so are we creating those kind of perspectives of an experience? And then are we then educating and then role playing for checking for understanding? Great, you saw the video, demonstrate it to me, right? Like, get really uncomfortable with it, like, demonstrate it to me so I know that you get it. And then that's really where it has to happen, is in the role play piece. Mike, I don't know if you know this, I'm also supporting and serving as the CRO for a membership plan company called Subscribely, and we have other technology companies as well within that portfolio. And one of the things that we had to do is really look at our partner success and really rebuild it from an operator lens and say, okay, how are we going to role play offices so they feel comfortable on how to present treatment plans, and really flip the script on, we're not going to give you a 10-page document to read. Nobody does that anymore. Something's broken in my house, I'm looking at YouTube on how to fix it. So let's go through some role play videos. And we actually just created some that are AI. So it's even a little bit more cleaner in that sense. And they're short and concise, easy to watch. And we made them the baby podcast AI, right? So it's a little bit more fun. But it has to be a role play to really demonstrate those steps.
Interesting. So then with role playing, I'm sure you've seen this. Santosh is telling me to role play. I'm going to role play. And then we drop the ball on role playing consistently. Why does that happen?
Sometimes is it demonstrated top down, right? Is the leader also demonstrating that to patients? If we're saying we're patient obsessed, is the doctor making the patient wait 10 minutes because they're just checking their email? Is the doctor late to the first appointment every day? Are we demonstrating that we're really patient obsessed if the leader of the organization is doing that? The other piece is, I like the concept of, leadership is inspire, instruct, and inspect. So we inspire them, we instruct them, and then we have to, we role played this. Now I need to see you demonstrate it, and I'm inspecting. And if it's not happening, I have an obligation to our organization, because we are committed to the patient experience, that I'm going to talk to you about it. And I'm going to share that conversation before you even start. That these are the expectations. Like, we're going to go through this experience and this patient journey mapping, and here's where you would plug in. And if you don't feel comfortable doing that, that's okay. This is just not the place for you, right? Let's get that out in the open now. That's an element of, one, is it demonstrated top down? And then two, are people afraid to have that conversation of, hey, you missed this step. Let's titrate this. Let's calibrate this. Let's course correct this. Or are they just allowing it to happen? You are what you tolerate, right?
Yeah.
And so if you allow that to happen, then it's going to continue to happen.
Okay, I like that, man. So then let's dive a little bit deeper into the patient obsession mindset. And we discussed a little bit of it, but where do practices usually fail in creating a patient obsessed culture? Like, is it leadership, training, accountability?
I would say probably the training aspect. If I said, hey, Mike, I'm going to pay you a ton of money. Well, what is a ton of money to you versus what's a ton of money to me, right? We're not defining that. So when I tell a team member, like, I want you to be patient obsessed, what does that mean to that team member? What that means to that team member can be vastly different than what that means to me. So are we setting an expectation of what that experience is to be like? Are we demonstrating that to them? Are we role playing that to them first? And I think that's where it fails, is like, there's an expectation and an assumption of what patient first means. But unless we actually are diving deeper into, like, here's an objection, this is how we handle it, right? We're going to listen to the objection. We're going to empathize with the objection. We're going to do our best to problem solve it. And then we're going to confirm that we solved the problem. Just because we think we solved the problem doesn't mean we actually solved the problem. Like, we're going to confirm we solved the problem with the patient. And so I think that's where part of it fails, is, are we going through really modular steps to ensure that everyone's on the same page when we talk? And examples are great, right? Going into either restaurants or hotels as a team. We did this. And this was actually it was a big moment for us. We went into a restaurant, like a large group. And before we left, one of the biggest things that we all had to do was write down what was the one thing that this experience from the restaurant, what was the most memorable experience that they provided for us. And everyone had something different, but it was important for them to start to think about, like, I noticed that. So the patient came into one of the offices, would they notice how we treat other patients or how we talk to other patients? I think that's a critical element of it.
I like that, man. Have you ever seen Chef's Table on Netflix?
I have not, no.
Okay, because they all have like their own restaurant, right? Or restaurants, but they're all either obsessed with something, right? Either the produce or the
Yeah.
experience. And when you were talking about that right now, it made me think of that. They are obsessed, right? But obviously they
Yeah.
got their Michelin stars and all that other stuff, but
Yeah.
they're obsessed with something specifically. And their team has to be like that too. They have to be on it. If he's a line cook, I got to be obsessed with being this line cook. And that contributes to the end experience.
I just saw this clip on Instagram, right? It talked about how did this Michelin star restaurant improve their Michelin stars, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what they did is they actually took their entire team to a higher rated Michelin star restaurant. And they came back and they said, okay, what was different? And without fail, everyone said the coffee was terrible there.
Yeah.
The food is great. Experience was great. Coffee was terrible. So that's what they concluded from that experience. And so they went back and said, you know what? We're going to have the best coffee experience in the city.
Nice.
And we're going to do something a little bit different. They hired someone who's a coffee savant. I don't even know. I don't drink coffee, but
Yeah.
like, that's how they want to differentiate them. They now want to be obsessed with something that's going to enhance the overall experience. It's hard to be obsessed with every step of the way, but if you can focus on a few things that are going to be meaningful, then great.
Yeah. To you, what are the few things that are meaningful in that new patient journey from the moment like they look at an ad or something to now?
I think the website is so critical, and being able to, again, like the experience starts on the website, right? Before they call, before they schedule a line, everything starts on, so their expectation setting is there, right? And then making sure from the moment they literally walk into that office, from the look, the feel, the smell, all of that is consistent to what they expected from their website.
Yeah.
And then the experience from the patient testimonial that are online as well, being able to also make sure that they're obsessed with giving that consistent level of experience. Because again, if I read 4.9 stars and I'm reading just fabulous reviews about each of the team members, just call it what it is. I'm coming in with expectations, and I walk in and nobody greets me. Nobody tells me what's next. I'm getting shoved this bite wing in my mouth and nobody apologized for it, right? These fake reviews, that wasn't my experience. So I think when we're talking about being obsessed, are we obsessed with the steps that are visible to patients and then backtracking to those? Like doctors, for example, doctors have become obsessed with learning how to give injections without pain. They've become obsessed with that, right? Why? Because they know that's one of the biggest reasons why they get dinged on Google reviews. So they focus on that. They're like, I'm going to be obsessed with this strategy and this tactic and this approach.
Yeah.
But if each team member took that one thing that they could get dinged on for their Google review, that will have a series of positive experiences across the board.
I love that, man. So it's kind of like, hey, if I'm listening to this when it comes out, and then Santosh is telling me right now, have a team meeting, each member has to discuss or think about what's one thing you can get dinged on and become obsessed with it, get real good at it. And then how often should we be doing this kind of like analysis?
When you start that, it's just like anything else. You have to be consistent almost every week for the first 2 months. Because if you're doing it once every 2 months, a quarter, nobody's paying attention. But if it becomes part of your daily huddle, if it becomes consistent, right? And then you celebrate it. Someone acknowledged what you did online as a Google review, celebrate it. Let that be part of the daily huddle. I think you have to do it every week for the first couple of months so everyone understands that this is part of our culture, part of our fabric.
I love that, man. That's awesome. So then when we talk about number 5, systems and tracking, to you, what KPIs or feedback besides reviews, right, do you use to track the patient experience effectively? So we know reviews are there, but what else do you?
Reviews are critical because you're getting direct feedback from the patients, right? So that's what they're telling you. What we need to focus on is what are they not telling you? So what they're not telling you is through their case acceptance. If they trust you as a provider and you found affordable ways for them to accept care, then their case acceptance percentages are telling you something. If you have high case acceptance percentage, it means you provide a great experience and they've trusted the doctors and the team. If you have low case acceptance percentages, that's saying that you have set expectations and you fell below those expectations. Case acceptance is a big part of it. Some people use, NPS scores. I think it's becoming more common, especially in the healthcare industry as a whole, which is great. Call conversion. I mean, what is your cancellation, right? So that's another stat to look at: call conversion, cancellation, show rate. And then from a new patient standpoint, it's recall. So how many of those patients are coming back in 6 months, right? Again, did you provide that great positive experience at the first visit that they've trusted you to come back again?
Interesting. I like that, man. Okay. So then bonus deep dive question. If you had to build a brand new practice from scratch, 0 systems, 0 team, how would you design a patient-obsessed culture from day one?
Yeah, right. So if you had to build a business day one and you had no systems in place and no team members in place,
Mm-hmm.
what would I do?
Yeah.
Day one, just me. I would have breakfast at Ritz-Carlton. I would go to the Apple store. I would go to Chick-fil-A for lunch,
Yeah.
I would go to all these different businesses that are not dental, and I would sit back and watch. What is it that they're doing? How is it that they were able to hire and train team members, demonstrate what they want as a patient experience? If you have no team members, you're not training anyone yet, right?
Yeah.
So you have to then think about like, what is it that you're expecting? And I would put myself in the consumer lens first, and then I would reverse engineer, right? And then I'll start hiring people. And the first thing I would do is then start build a system, right?
Yeah.
So build your learning management system. Think about how you want to reverse engineer that experience. What happened 10 years ago, and we see this all the time, there's several practices we work with, and they hire a consultant that comes in with the same book, same binder that they've used for 10 years. 10 years ago, it worked really, really well, and it helped those businesses 10x their business. The consumers are different now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so are we really looking at other industries first? Because dental is not medical, right? Like it's still a very retail experience, service experience, and high touch experience. So are we looking at other experiences that are in the marketplace and learning from those and then really attracting that mindset?
Yeah.
If I'm a practice that wants to grow my Invisalign base, right? I'm probably going to think about, okay, somebody who cares about a Invisalign probably cares about aesthetics, cares about straight teeth, wants to build their confidence. Okay. I'm going to go to a Lifetime Fitness. I'm going to go see how are they treating their guests that come in? What are they doing different to treat their guests? Because ultimately, whenever I start to market my business, I'm going to try to target that avatar patient. They've already demonstrated they care about their body, their mind, and they care about that. That's important to them.
Yeah.
Well, those are the patients I want, right? I want patients who also care about their confidence level, their oral hygiene, their aesthetics, right? Like those are the ones I want to attract. Let's go look at where those patients are already shopping. Where are they returning as shoppers? And why are they returning?
Interesting. I like that. So a lot of research and development before, right? Just watching. And I feel like that's where sometimes we tend to drop the ball, meaning like I'm so boggled down, and maybe in dentistry, same thing, so boggled down on a patient, a clinical issue and all that stuff for a long period of time, or a team member for a long period of time, that eventually, you know what I mean? They just, oh man, we forgot to go check out
you get numb to it.
Yes.
I love the story from Walt Disney where Walt Disney was trying to figure out where he's going to put trash cans. The whole concept is, where are we going to put trash cans in this park? The team gave everybody a piece of hard candy with a plastic wrapper. And they just waited to see how long were people going to wait before they just threw that candy wrapper on the ground. But if they didn't see a trash can anywhere, how long was everyone going to wait before they just started just dropping it? And it was something like every 25 feet they have a trash can.
Really?
Yeah. Just like sit back and listen. Like patients are going to tell us what they want, and then revisit that every, 2-3 years, right? And especially now as technology is changing so fast, maybe revisit even more. But that's a concept that just doesn't exist as much. Again, it exists in other industries. You think about other innovative companies, it's called design thinking principles, right? They're really looking at the end user. And, that's, I would say, one of the biggest and best ways to approach any practice that's about to rebuild. How are you going to change that experience?
I like that. Santosh, thank you so much for being with us. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you at Inner Circle.
Yeah, man. I plan to be there, I think at the end of January, like 29th to the 31st, San Antonio, and hope to connect before as well. But definitely Inner Circle will be a great time.
Awesome. So the details for Inner Circle is going to be in the show notes below. And Santosh, before we say goodbye, where can people reach out to you if they have any questions?
Honestly, like LinkedIn is probably the best way. You can go to my LinkedIn page, but just research Santosh Patel. Again, I'm CRO at Subscribely and advisor at Complete Specialty Solutions, and really active on LinkedIn.
Nice. So that's going to be in the show notes below. Santosh, thank you so much for being with us. It's been a pleasure. We'll hear from you soon.
Absolutely, Ross. You take care.